Welcome to the MBD podcast, the show where we dig into what's actually working or not when it comes to scaling businesses with the people who've been there. And today's guest has definitely been there. So please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Jason. Thank you for having me today. Super happy to be here. So I am a marketing and creative leader with expertise in building and leading remote and distributed teams, both client side and agency side. And I'm also a product owner. So that means I align marketing and creative and tech teams, which is fun. I consider myself a growth marketer. I have built brands from scratch. I have scaled existing brands, and I have also revitalized legacy brands. So while I am a growth marketer, brand has been at the core of my success.
Awesome. So when you're called upon to go into these businesses to help them scale, what is some of the feedback you get and the direction you take that really helps them overcome some of the failures that they would hit if they wanted to only go and chase that golden lead?
So I like to look at a lot of areas of the business as it relates to brand, because brand is really like a revenue driver. So, if the goal is sales, I kind of like work my way back from there. Do we have product market fit? Yes, no. Like, when was the last time you looked at your brand? Like, where is your brand in the world and how does it like make sense in the world? COVID's a great example. Like, we can all use that, but like the world is rapidly changing. So you want to look at that periodically and say how we're coming, to this space. Does it make sense? Also, I look at, how are the employees? Is it a revolving door? Are people staying? Do they feel really closely like connected to the mission and everything they're there to accomplish? So those are some of the things I look at.
So you're leveraging brand, especially the company mission and core values, to make sure everything's aligned with what's been established, because that is projected by the
Mm-hmm.
company, right? For whether it's you're for labor or for messaging to consumers. So what are some of the things that you do to help make sure that things are aligned, that gets the company into a position to where they really can start acquiring those ICPs and generating the lead volume that they're trying to get, which is, even though it's it's kind of the end result, your target and focus.
Right. I know you and I talked about like, just give me more leads.
Right. Yeah.
There's that's the outcome, right? It's like that's solving for Z, but what happens from, A to Y, right? Those are the things I'm looking at and solving for. So, a couple of examples are, what's your UVP messaging? Like, how are you messaging around what you're solving and how you're solving, and in the way that matters, to the people that you are targeting. So UVP messaging is actually a really important one.
Can you
Um,
define UVP for those who may not know?
sure. Yeah. Sorry. The unique value proposition. So UVP messaging is like when you go to market, what's the value that you bring? How or why is it different from what everyone else is saying in the same crowded space? It's just really articulating who you are and why you matter to the people you're talking to.
And and how do you find that UVP, right? Like, because right now there's a lot of services. Like, let's use something simple like a local business. I have a tree care business. I cut trees, they cut trees. We show up, they show up. We do the same thing. What do you look
Mm-hmm.
for, or how do you engage with the owner or business lead to identify, hey, this is what your value prop is. This is what differentiates you.
Yeah. So, there's a mix of things that happen there. It's like talking to the founder or the owner. Why are you here? Like, why'd you start this business? Um, it's also tapping into their passion for the business or their knowledge, which is a hard one actually, to like pull out so that I can build like a guide for this is how we want to handle these things. That way the rest of the team has that and can pull from that founder's knowledge and passion and just, go with that. Uh, Interviews, talking to customers is actually a big piece of it. I always say that I build brands for customers, but like with customers as well. If I'm building a new brand, obviously, those activities in the beginning are a little bit different. But for existing brands, you want to talk to the customers. we could spend weeks, months talking about why we're so valuable in the market, how we think we're the best, or
Yeah.
what we think we bring.
Me,
Then
me. Yeah.
right, but then you talk to your customers, and they will like totally rip that apart and tell you wonderful things that you didn't know, or like it's just they're really they're a very important piece of the process.
Yeah. And are there
Yeah,
any specific questions that you would use to engage customers to get the information out of them that you're trying to get for those differentiating factors?
absolutely. So I like to ask them. I actually have, this probably won't surprise you because I'm a marketer, right? So are you. So over my career, I have like this library of questions. It
Uh,
depends on like, is it a product? Is it a service? What kind of product is it? What kind of service is it? But I like to ask them like both qualitative and quantitative questions, right? But the questions that usually give us like the most interesting information are just like the open-ended questions at the end. But I like to ask them like, why did you pick us over our competitor? But like, because we can see, on their website, like they might, offer these 10 features and we offer these, 10 features. There's probably a lot of overlap. Maybe there's a little bit of a differentiator, but like, why'd you pick us? I think it's a relevant question to ask. I also like to ask, like, what would make you stay? Like, if you were given two choices, like us or someone else today, and it was just easy to move, magical, it just would like happen and be done and you'd be set. Who would you pick and why? Like what could we do, that would keep you here? What
yeah.
is the thing that is most valuable to you? So it's it's really interesting because you have to like find that mix of this is where our skill set is, this is where our passion is, this is why we exist, why we're here, but then also like kind of like just aligning that and mapping that to the people you're selling to and why it matters and what they need. Does it match? If it does, then you have a fit, right? You have product market fit.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think, I mean, those are great questions because I don't think people realize how difficult it is to survey. And I got a taste of that. My first one was in college. I wanted to update the gym. So for in marketing, we have surveys. So I put this marketing survey together and it came out not what I wanted. And I was like, man, that was hard just to get these answers. One, it's hard
Yeah.
to formulate it so you're not pushing people in a particular direction to get the feedback that you really want. And then two, being able to accept the results of not being what you were hoping them to be is another part of it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so your survey, you got the consumer information of how they can, of what that differentiating value prop is. Now you've got it. What do you do with it?
So I that's how I formulate my UVP messaging. And when I say messaging, it's really just a guide. It's like it's a combination of like we've built our personas, our ICPs, right? Um, we have an idea of what their pain points are. We know what our value is, at least internally. What our value, our perceived value is externally could be different again. So we think we know what our value is, and it's really just like talking to customers, talking to team members, like talking to, like the leadership team to pull together. These are the actual pain points that we are solving. We know we can solve. These are the things, the reasons why we think they're coming to us. These are the objections that we know about. And just taking those topics and turning those into messaging, such as in like, this is our brand, this is how we solve this thing, and this is the value that we can bring. It's a general guide, like to help teams respond in a way that maps to the value of the brand and the way that customers want to be receiving messaging from the brand.
Yeah, you're speaking. You're telling potential customers what your customers told you, so it aligns with most likely um, what they're looking for. So now you have the messaging in place, right? And how are you distributing that through different marketing channels, and how are you identifying marketing channels to distribute it?
So the UVP messaging is actually applied to pretty much all of the channels, right? Because
Hmm.
it takes all of the brand pieces. It's like, so positioning and UVP messaging is like when I build a brand and I go through like a whole brand framework, brand strategy, it's the last piece.
Hmm.
It's because all of that informs your position in the market. Like we're going to put a stake in the ground. If you're going to put a stake in the ground there, you want to know that it's like you've done the work and you know this is where we should be, right? And then this is how we're going to talk about ourselves. So it is the last piece. uh, Values, mission, purpose, the ICPs, all of that formulate is informs those outputs.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful what it can do once you get it right, and you've dialed it in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different times. Um,
Yeah.
Now, when you're doing the messaging, right, are there any particular marketing channels that you would start with versus another? I know probably you're going to go to where the ICP is. If you have that information to identify them, you're going to
Yeah.
start there first. But is there any structure that you use that you can engage them and retarget them that you find that you like to kind of do as a standard?
For retargeting.
Or no, I'm just saying in general. It was an example of saying you're going to build out a marketing campaign. You're looking at these different integrated channels. Retargeting is just part of it, but first you need to get to them. You found where they are. Is there any particular cadence that you like doing when you start running the marketing campaigns?
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm in I'm inbound and organic first marketer.
Okay.
Even though I'm like a revenue growth marketer, I learned very, very early in my career that if the organic inbound piece is not in order, you can throw so much money at it and it's not going to matter a lot. Like you're only going to be so successful if you haven't done like the foundation first, right? So I go organic first. But how I go to market totally depends on like the vertical and the audience and budgets also. There's just a lot of factors involved in that. I do tend to go organic first though, because you want to get like, you own your social channels, like you want to, get those like flowing, get some engagement in there, showing some life. Of course, your website, needs to be able to receive customers. You have to have like a conversion path to like accept,
You're
leads and
building
all
the
that good stuff.
foundation, right? And
Yeah,
it
I
starts, I
do.
mean, it kind of starts, I think we say like the organic pieces, making sure everything's structured correctly. It's all messaging the same. The profiles, the
Hmm.
descriptions all
Yeah.
match. Your website is ready to receive traffic, meaning that it's ready, that when traffic goes there, the messaging's correct, the call to actions are in place, and people can go through that process of converting versus having something a little chaotic where you're trying to get people into it and they don't know what to do or even what you're
Right.
about, right? Like, because some engineers
Yeah.
are writing the website stuff and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I know you do something probably
Yeah.
pretty cool, but I don't know what this means.
Right. Like all the websites I've been to, like I'll take the time, again, because I'm a marketer, I'm like, okay, I know you do something, but I don't know what it is,
Right.
right? And
I
I'll
know.
take the time and read like the entire homepage. And sometimes like I still don't know what you do. Like, I
I'm
don't
with you.
understand.
I know. 3 pages in, I find, oh, you provide solutions to a restaurant where they have operations management. There it is. Like,
Right. And we are rare. No one else is going to spend time doing that. We're rare. We
right.
do that because we have like that curious like
The
marketer mind,
interest,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, how are you going to survive? And then sometimes
Right.
I'm like, is their market so smart that I'm just not that intelligent to understand what's going on? Because they're doing well, they're enterprise. I don't get what they're doing, but they're doing something.
Yeah.
No, no, awesome. So you got your foundation in place, the organic side, everything's connected correctly. I'm sure
Hmm.
tracking set up so that way you can identify how people are converting. And then you've got the fun role of starting on the outbound portion. Is there any particular strategy you use outside of identifying where these ICPs are to go to them that you like to do in general, more kind of like a standard that a lot of businesses could apply to get out of the gate?
So for outbound, um, I've been doing this for a while and I've seen I've seen the success of email, and I know everyone still is like talking about how email is still the number one channel. It
Yeah,
like really truly is.
I agree. Yeah.
However weird I find that, it's true. So, um, yeah. So for outbound, um, I like to actually, work with providers who like, data providers, right? That where we can get really specific about who we want to talk to, who we think we can help. I always approach it from that lens, like who can we actually be helpful to? Where can we make an impact? And then I like to find those people and then work like for enterprise, definitely through like account-based marketing type activities. Like, okay, we want to work with this brand. We want this logo. Really, I like to take a look at like what is their business? How do we think we can, help them improve, optimize, solve, increase revenue, save time, whatever it is. And really like building out like content and telling a story to them specifically around the problem that they're trying to solve. So that's like my first go-to for outbound, because you like me and probably everyone listening, and watching this podcast, like, I probably just on my personal email, I get over 100 emails a day.
Yeah.
That's not even my work email, right? And then like LinkedIn messages. I'm hit by so many every day. I want to be really purposeful, and I want to approach that with intent and try to be valuable.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then in telling this story, how do you find or test different messages that you're putting out there to see what's generating success?
Oh yeah, no. So I've done a lot of A/B testing, like so much A/B
Hmm.
testing over the years. So there's A/B testing for the website. You can test headers and stuff like that. There's like the obvious like social media, like copy testing, headline testing, image testing. Like all the same is true across email, web, socials. So A/B testing is something I've done a lot. Um, there's it depends on your CMS. There's a lot of ways to easily do that in the CMS, and of
Hmm.
course you want to track that among social and stuff. But again, it's like that's one of those things where you might be surprised. Put something out there that you think is right, based on how you've built the brand and who you are and who you think or know you're talking to, and then what actually performs might surprise you.
Yeah, it's a good point. I've been
So
wrong on a lot of tests. I'm
yeah,
like,
me too.
I've
Me
even
too.
had, I even like doing contests. Like if I have a team I'm working with, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, everybody come up with one ad, and we're gonna run it against each
Yeah.
other, and it can be surprising. And some of the ads people create, and they'll, sometimes you get a little, I don't do that. I don't write. No, just try something, right? Like just do it, because they could come up with the magic verse or whatever is going on that works. No,
Right. Yeah. It's
yeah.
like the different perspectives from the different angles of that each person sees within the business. That's really important.
Yeah, I've had customer
Yeah.
service reps come up with something who had been there like 2 months, and they're
Yeah.
like, "This is what I think."
Yeah.
I don't, and then they're like, "I don't think it's gonna be that good." I'm like, "Well, one, you beat everybody,
Fresh
marketing
eyes.
team."
Yeah.
No, but awesome. So, if someone's listening and trying to scale right now, what's one piece of advice you wish you had earlier?
Well, you and I have been talking about a lot of details. It's I guess don't be afraid to like move quickly and not make everything just perfect, like
Progress over perfection.
sparkly perfect, right? Yeah, just do something, test it, get feedback on it, and iterate. It's a cycle. It should never end. That's actually how I build my teams. Test, learn, iterate. Like that's it. Just keep going, because again, like I said in the beginning, the world is changing constantly. Our target audience needs are changing, because like how we move within this world is different from one day to the next. It's almost that fast right now, or so, in some cases it literally is. But
Yeah,
yeah,
awesome. Well,
so
thank you for taking the time. Where can people connect with you or learn more about what you're doing?
I'm on LinkedIn, just / Charmon Stiles. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone who wants to chat marketing and brand.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Jason. Happy to be here today.